every single year. It's March 2026 and in front of me I have the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, and every single year I do this comparison with the current versions of these phones. It's the flagship versus the flagship from the two biggest brands in the industry, and let's get real, I don't think anyone watches these videos to try and decide between these two. Do you really? I mean, if you do, let me know in the comments. I think most people just enjoy talking about this stuff and enjoy this great big battle between the titans of the industry. There's two problems. One is that I'm always late with this comparison because so much else happens between these being released and me getting to this comparison. So there's already 11,000 videos out there comparing these two phones. That's the first problem. The second problem is that I've come to a conclusion that may not be popular. I'll get to that later, but I've got to make a video here, haven't I? I've got to do something. Let's talk about it. This is the Accara G410, and it isn't just a smart doorbell, it's a full-on smart home hub for your doorstep. Straight away, the video quality really stands out. You're getting a 2K resolution, a super wide 175-degree field of view, and solid low-light performance so you can actually see who's at your door, day or night. There's also two-way audio built in so you can speak to whoever's there directly from your phone. Behind the scenes, the G410 uses MM-wave sensing, which means it can detect people properly, rather than stuff like falling leaves and passing cars, and that means you get fewer random alerts. On top of that, it's got on-device facial recognition so it can tell you who's at the door and even trigger automations based on that. The G410 also works as a full smart home hub. It supports Zigbee, Thread, Bluetooth and Matter, so it can connect and control a huge range of devices right from your doorstep. It also plays very nicely with pretty much everything. Apple Home with HomeKit secure video, Alexa, Google Home, SmartThings, you name it. And on that subject, I'm kitting out the rest of my home with other Accara devices, including a fantastic water leak sensor, which is incredibly handy in my house, but also door and window sensors, plus the G5 camera hub, which has a 2.6K resolution and full color night vision. Installation of the G410 is so easy. You can run it on batteries for a quick setup or wire it in for continuous recording. Just like that, you've got the perfect base to build your smart home setup from. Check it out in the description below. I've picked out 3 things to talk about, that's it, which is crazy because normally there's 17 things that you talk about when you compare two phones like this. No, not in this video. Let's keep it very simple. And we'll start with the design because it's very different. And I like the fact it's different because there's no, oh, they copied them and vice versa. And it does give you a choice, I suppose, if you are deciding between the two. So the iPhone looks fantastic. Cosmic orange. Thanks, Apple. The S26 Ultra looks fantastic. The cobalt violet is very premium looking, very, I don't know, it just looks very kind of upmarket. I love the look of the S26 Ultra. It's a fantastic looking device. They both, from the rear, look very different, but very, very nice. They look and feel like flagship smartphones. The whole titanium versus aluminium, I don't care. The displays, the S26 Ultra just nudges it still. It's just a bit better for some reason. I think it's a bit more, it feels a bit bigger because the corners aren't quite as rounded as the iPhones. Also, it has the anti-reflective coating, which is just amazing. And it has a privacy display this year, which, if you weren't aware, is this feature where certain pixels are turned off. So if someone is sitting next to you on the train and they're trying to look at your banking details, they can't see them. It's as simple as that. You can do some very clever stuff with it. For instance, you can have certain apps trigger it. You can have just notifications hidden. It's very, very clever. We don't get that on the iPhone, so that's another differentiator between the two. But design-wise, what more can I say about the design? One thing I will say is that you do need a case, and I'm lucky enough for dbrand to have sent me 3 of their cases for the S26 Ultra. We have the grip case. This is an all-rounder with textured sides, it's got tactile buttons and support for customizable skins. Then we have the ghost case, which I haven't taken the protective film off yet, but that is this one here. It's clear so you can see the design of the S26 Ultra, it's lightweight and it has high scratch resistance. And then if you're the sort of person who chucks their phone around, you'll want the tank case. It's rugged, it's tactical, says dbrand. I'm not sure what they mean by that, but it's just very, you can do that and not care about it. 3 fantastic case choices, and I would recommend doing the same thing for your iPhone as well. But yeah, when it comes to design, it's a tie. Yes, I've got a food stain on my McLaren t-shirt. I don't care. I'm old enough and stupid enough not to care about that stuff anymore. Anyway, the second point of comparison is the camera system. And this is where people get agitated in the comments, and it's where you start to see that line divided between Apple and Samsung fans. It's a very subjective topic. What I like, you may not like, and vice versa. But I think the biggest difference between these two phones is the megapixel size. So on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, all three cameras have 48 megapixels. On the S26 Ultra, we have a 200 megapixel main camera, and the rest of them are, I'll put them down there so you can see what they are in terms of megapixels, but it's a bit of a mixed bag. And also things like the focal lengths are different as well. So the optical focal lengths on the iPhone, we have a 1x, 2x, 4x, and 8x as the main options, plus the ultra wide. And then on the S26 Ultra, we have the ultra wide 1x, 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x. The optical ranges are down here. We'll put them down here. I always forget. But I think I prefer... What do I prefer? Neither, actually. They're both very, very nice in terms of focal lengths. We have the ultra-wide, which is always handy. And for me, on the iPhone, the 4x zoom is fantastic. The 8x is a little bit hit and miss, depending on the conditions. On the S26 Ultra, the 3 and 5 and the 10, actually, are all very good. But they're both very, very adaptable, very convenient cameras to use in pretty much any situation. In terms of the comparison between these two, I did the dad thing, basically. Went to the park with the family and took photos of my son, of the flowers, of my dog, of the surroundings. And these are the photos that came out of that little trip. And I think they're both very, very nice. They are different. You can definitely tell a difference between the two, but for me, it's not enough to warrant that much discussion, I don't think, really. Maybe it is. Get involved down below. I just think they look great. The S26 Ultra took the best photo of my son, in my opinion, which is this one where he's peeking around the corner of the tree. But then the iPhone did a pretty good job of this as well. These are portrait photos, but let me know what you think about those two. The one instance where they did show a bit of a difference in terms of reliability was that evening where I took photos of the two of them on the sofa, again using the portrait mode, and the iPhone just captured that moment quicker and a little bit more reliably than the S26 Ultra. It was a very dimly lit room. It was my living room, not many lights on, quite tricky conditions, and two very fast moving subjects, and the iPhone just nailed it slightly. Just a bit better, I think, in my opinion. But like I say, the previous photos taken in the park, I preferred the S26 Ultra. So again, it comes down to these very fine margins between these two phones. When it comes to video, this is very interesting. So the S26 Ultra has real-time LUT capability, so you can shoot in log format. If you know what that is, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what it is, it doesn't matter. But basically, you can shoot in log format and have a real-time LUT applied. You can't do that on the iPhone, but you can still shoot in log if you want to. Although I think they call it ProRes RAW, and it's the same difference, really. You get flat color profile, and you can then tweak it in post. The S26 Ultra also supports APV, which is a professional video codec. But again, the 17 Pro Max has that ProRes support. So if you do doing professional video with your phone, both of them work. So the camera system, for me, are you ready? It's a tie. Number 3 is the ecosystem, iOS and One UI. They're both as good as each other. They are fantastic mobile operating systems. I love both of them. In terms of the companion devices that you can get for both of these, watches, laptops, tablets, the whole kind of connected device thing in your home, they can both play perfectly with all that stuff. The other thing to bear in mind is that 2 days ago, we got an update for the S26 series, which enabled AirDrop. So you can AirDrop things from this to this or to a Mac. That is massive for someone like me who does use Samsung devices alongside Apple devices because I'm a tech reviewer. It's huge, but it also means that if you want to keep your MacBook and get an S26 Ultra, you can, but then it's all the same. Oh, one difference. AI. So we have Galaxy AI on here, which is better than Apple Intelligence, because Apple is still working on Apple Intelligence. Is it still in beta? I'm not sure, but we're getting an update hopefully later this year that will include some Gemini integration and stuff. But that said, they both have AI features that do work. And the comparison that I did between these two last year, where Apple Intelligence wasn't as good as Galaxy AI, it has changed a little bit. I can't be bothered to go into it because I don't really care about AI. I find it very, just a bit too much, but it's there. And if you need to remove something from a photo, you can do it. So ecosystem and the OS, it's a tie. Right, the conclusion that I've come to, which I don't think is going to be popular with certain members of the community down there, is that it's a tie. I think you probably worked out where this video was going. I can't pick between these two because they've reached not a pinnacle, because things can always get better and change and evolve and all that stuff, but they have reached a point where they're so good. They're such good flagship phones. And yes, if you look at other Android phones on the market that have potentially better camera systems in terms of what they can do and the image quality and all that sort of stuff, there's always something which it's like, oh, it doesn't have that though, or the ecosystem isn't quite right, or I can't buy it in my country, or it doesn't have that spec in my country, or whatever it is. There's always something. I love those devices dearly because they keep the industry moving. But when it comes to the two big guys, the two big titans of the industry, we've reached a point where these two phones are so good. They are so good that I can't choose between them, and the way that the kind of battle between them just becomes brand stakes, and it becomes uber fans of each brand. And that is why I still make these videos, because I love seeing what happens down there. I find it fascinating. And that brings me to that comment section. I want you to get involved. Let's keep it friendly. Let's keep it nice. The world needs niceness. It needs people to get along. And these are just phones. They're incredible devices, and I love them both dearly. But let's keep it civil down there, and let me know which one is for you and why. And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, you know what to do. See you down there. Just filming some footage of these two phones and realised I didn't mention the S Pen on the S26 Ultra. So that's another differentiator. If you like taking handwritten notes on your phone, you need to get this one.